Christine, you're muted. You'll want to start again.
Thank you, Benji. Good morning, everyone. I'm the Reverend Christine Dance, and it is my great honor to serve the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix as your minister. In this time when we are physically distant, it is so good to be together. We need each other. Welcome to online worship. Welcome home. The Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix strives to be a spiritual community for our time, focused on diverse theological perspectives, radical and inclusion, and knowing that issues of justice and equity shape everything we do. With a special awareness for those who have been historically marginalized, we welcome all, of every race, class, ethnicity, immigration status, sexual orientation, gender identity, religious background, mental and physical ability, and disability. We welcome you, your whole self, your wonderful family, and we welcome you into worship as we build a community of kindness and caring and courage and hope. This morning, our service is about democracy and the upcoming election, the importance of our involvement in the democratic process, and also the moral imperative to make the world a better place. We'll also be addressing our own anxiety and fears that this brings up. Now, I knew it wasn't going to be a challenge to talk about how important this election might be. And then Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg died on Friday, making that point ever so clear. Dying on the eve of Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish High Holy Days, may her memory be a blessing to all of us, inspiring us to our highest aspirations. I invite you to grab a chalice or a candle and join me as we light our community chalice. I welcome my wife, Karen Schultz, in her finest Ruth Bader Ginsburg t-shirt to light our chalice this morning. Join me in the words of our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to share our strength in fellowship, thus do we covenant.
Good morning, everyone. I want to share with you a song about raising our voices together that I've grown to love. It's called I Lift My Voice, and it was written by Andrea Ramsey in 2017. The refrain at the end of each verse is in the chat right under the covenant. So let me just teach you one line at a time. The first line is, when they try to divide us, try that. When they try to divide us, and then the same jump, it will only unite us, try that. It will only unite us, and then I lift my voice. I lift my voice. That last line, sometimes we do it twice, usually just once. So the whole refrain together is, when they try to divide us, it will only unite us, and I lift my voice. So now you know the refrain. Feel free to sing that part with me. The whole song goes like this. We'll put the lyrics in the chat, but yeah, feel free to sing along whenever you want. When I lift my voice, let it be in song, a defiant note in the face of wrong. I won't stand alone, we'll stand side by side, 'cause we know that love is always justified. When they try to divide us, it will only unite us, and I lift my voice. Here's the second verse. When I lift my voice, let it be for good. Let me care as much as I know I should. I won't stand alone, we'll stand side by side, 'cause we know that love is always justified. When they try to divide us, it will only unite us, man. I lift my voice again. I lift my voice. I lift my voice. Thanks all.
Thank you, Benji. So I want to welcome our worship team this morning. We have our Director of Children's Ministries, Katie Resendez, our Director of Music, Benji Messer, our pianist, Mary Coda, and introducing another one of our new worship associates, Joseph Benesh, with us this morning. With gratitude for the words of UU Minister, Reverend Kathy Ryan Starr, we all invite you to participate in a charge to engage. We are each going to say a line, and then we invite you to say at home, we charge you to engage. You've got that? We charge you to engage. Because your congregation is located in a city with an abundance of immigrants and a state that is the epicenter of the country's attack on immigrants, we charge
you to engage.
Because your faith, like ours, is one of action, we charge you to engage.
Because your own freedom and liberation is bound up in that of the broader community, we charge you to engage.
Because there is so much to learn by walking with the people of Phoenix, we charge you to engage.
Because to ensure that all life is valued, we must take a stand for those lives that are dismissed and marginalized today. We charge you to engage.
Because Black Lives Matter, we charge you to engage.
Because this is the capital city of the state, we charge you to engage.
Because we're blessed with many resources, your talents, your money, your love, your building, your history, we charge you to engage.
Because this beautiful world is aching and we do not wish to stand silently on the sidelines, we charge you to engage.
May you engage in the work of building beloved community and sustainability with love. May you engage in accountable relationships with those most impacted by the injustices you seek to address. May you engage with humility, passion, love, and determination. May you make a difference in our wider community. And as the words of the prophet Jeremiah say, may you seek the welfare of the city, for in its welfare you will find your welfare. We charge you
We charge
to
you to engage.
Thanks, team. And thanks to our A team. I'm sure that many of you know how much work is going on behind the scenes. So I want to especially thank Glenn Lockwood and Bill Benwell. Carrie Lifshitz is our moderator, and she's also managing the chat. The chat is open, so if you're watching, you can chat with everyone or just to the panelists running the service. And as always, we invite you to check out the UUCP social media and the hashtag UUAnywhere. I do have a few announcements about the life of our community. All of these announcements can be found on our weekly online newsletter, Compass. You can sign up for Compass right from the website at phoenixuu.org. Today is the last day to get the UUJAZ discount for Beloved Conversations. This is an inward exploration of racism written especially for Unitarian Universalists, and it is available online. All of these links I'm talking about, you can also find in the chat. Check out the chat. There are also still some amazing adult faith development classes available. Please explore these list of classes in Compass, engage more deeply in your spiritual development in your community, and especially in these difficult times. Next Sunday, Reverend Christine will be preaching online with the Surprise Arizona congregation, completing a pulpit swap we had with their minister, Reverend Terry Sims. Here at UUCP, in this virtual world, we will be exploring the significance of the Jewish High Holy Days, the Days of Awe, with our music director, Mr. Benji Messer, one of my heroes. That's my script, I just added that. On the following Sunday, 4th, we have a Blessing of the Animals service, giving gratitude for the pets who are keeping us amused and grounded in these times. My dogs are laying right over there wondering why I'm talking to my computer. So please send a picture or a short video of you or your pets or both. Send that to submit at phoenixuu.org. So one more time, that's submit at phoenixuu.org by Monday, September 28th, to be included with our pet blessing video. And as you all know, 1 week each month, we collect an offering for a community organization. You can donate by using the text information, which will be in the chat, and at our website as well, under the Share the Plate tab on the website, or just mail a check, old school way. This month, we're collecting for the Jam Pack Blues and Grass Neighborhood Band. This is a local bluegrass community of children of all ages, races, and walks of life. Your contributions will help pay for online lessons, transportation, and loan payments for the participants. You can learn more about them at jampack.com. That's JAMPAK.com. Also in the chat, Jampack band leader and founder, Mrs. Annie Beach, is here with us online to share a little with us before we take our offering. So over to Annie.
Let's see what I do here.
Turn on your video, Annie.
I'm trying.
There you go.
There I am. Hi. Hi. Oh, good morning, everybody. This is fabulous, even just the start of your service. Tell you just a tiny bit about us. I believe that we all have a purpose. Each one of us of this time, this place, I certainly see it in what I've heard this morning from you folks. I found mine really by an accident, adventure, when I was 50 years old. I'm 76 as of now. And I was trying to learn to play the mandolin, and some little boys came around my place and wanted to sing. And I thought, I really need to do something for the neighborhood. And because of that, started an adventure, a crossroads I never could have imagined. Within a very short time, I had a whole lot of them on homemade instruments, and we were playing for our families, for nursing homes. And within about 3 years, took a long time, the Arizona Bluegrass Association saw that we were serious. We didn't look like most bluegrass bands, and began to donate instruments. And from there on, we have been a fixture in bluegrass festivals everywhere and all kinds of events. And I think what I want to impart, it's always a risk to step out. I know you folks know that. Step out, try something new. But if you have the urge to do something to make our own little world better and the whole world, I just urge everybody, do it, take the risk. And I want to tell you folks, we have adopted for Jam Pack your motto, which was on t-shirts years ago when we were marching around for immigration. It's Jam Pack stands on the side of love. So please enjoy our little music offering via Zoom for you today. Thank you. Love all of you.
Hi everybody, good morning. Thank you so much for inviting Jam Pack for us to play our song, Peace Like a River, and I hope you guys enjoy.
I got peace like a river, I got peace like a river, I got peace like a river in my soul. I got peace like a river, I got peace like a river, I got peace like a river in my soul.
I've got love like a river, I've got love like a river, I've got love like a river in my soul. I've got love like a river, I've got love like a river, I've got love like a river in my soul.
I got peace like a river, I got peace like a river, I got peace like a river in my soul. I got peace like a river, I got peace like a river, I got peace like a river in my soul.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine a better picture of democracy than all of you all playing that song. That was amazing. I'm floored. Hi, everyone. My name is Katie, and I'm the Director of Children's Ministry here at UUC Phoenix. The people of ancient Greece found themselves under the rule of a whole lot of gods. And these gods ran the whole spectrum, from kind and caring and generous to kind and caring and foolish, to petty, to joyful, to healing, to loving, to vindictive, to cruel and mean and conniving, to mean, greedy, and foolish. Their deities were the whole spectrum. I mean, think about all of the stories we've heard about the way that the gods treated people and each other, how voiceless and powerless the people must have felt. I mean, think about Arachne and Athena. So Arachne is this amazing artist who can make beautiful tapestries with her weaving. And Athena finds out, and she's jealous and petty and all those things, and goes and challenges Arachne. And so Arachne uses her skill as an artist and her voice and her talent and creates a phenomenal tapestry. And it's far more beautiful than what Athena has created for the challenge. And that makes Athena mad. But what makes Athena even more mad, and all of the gods, is that this tapestry depicts images of all of the terrible atrocities the gods have visited upon people, and not just people, their own children, on demigods. And Arachne has made a political poster. She's shown a picture of all of the terrible things that are being done by these gods. It's not much different than when we catch police on camera doing things that don't work, and the cruelty and the meanness. And so Arachne has lifted up her voice, and she is strong and made this statement. And for it, Athena turns her into a spider. And then there's Zeus. He's not great. Dude has no respect for consent. Everything is at a whim. He's fickle. He favors people just because they kind of look like he wants them to look. And then when they do something wrong, he kills them. He gets mad at his own children. And not just mad, like vindictive, terrible stuff. He has no problem watching people suffer. Dude is not great. So you can imagine that the people of Greece may have felt a little powerless, a little voiceless. And so it's no surprise that among ancient Greece, we see some of the first tenets of democracy. It's one of the places around the world where we see democracy start to come up in democratic practices. Because if your gods rule you like that, it might be nice to be able to look at your human politicians, your leaders, closely and decide whether or not it's working out and whether or not you can kick them out. So we see democracy born. And I keep thinking back to Zeus. Where do I see, and where do we all feel Zeus's legacy in democratic practice? No, not in some of our specific leaders right now. You can draw that parallel if you want to. But I was thinking in the fact that the Greek people knew that the gods were imperfect. And that when we sign up for democracy and when we say, yes, this is what we want and this is how we want it to look, what we are saying is that we know that our leaders aren't perfect. We know that if the guy working out right now, the guy leading right now isn't working, we can look at him and say, hey, Zeus, I'm not in anymore. You're not going to stay in your position because I can't handle your leadership. Which is kind of funny because lots of UUs have said, hey, Zeus, I'm not going to follow you anymore. Okay, that was my trilingual pun. If you got it, you get a gold star. Okay, back to democracy. So you are under democracy and able to say this leader isn't working, and so I'm going to speak up and say something. And even if the leader is the most perfect leader for right now, democracy says that we know that there is something better down the line. There's a way to build it up even better. The next person might be even more fantastic. It calls us to look with hope towards our next election. Yes, our next election, this one, we need to look with hope. Because if we don't look with hope towards this election, then how do we look at our teenagers who are out there doing political campaigning and not see hope in them? If we think the next election is shot, then what chances do they have? And we know that the kids today are going to be phenomenal. Mayors, school board, president, all of those things, right? I'm not into being governed by gods, so I'm going to vote. Not all of us can vote. A lot of us can't, be it because of citizenship or age or many other reasons. But we're all going to lift up our voices because we sure ain't going to be turned into spiders. We've got each other. We've got hope. We've got power. You are so very, very loved, and keep using that power.
Thank you, Katie. And I'm feeling super smart because I got the triple word play. It is the time in our service when we share the joys and sorrows of being in community. Being together, it is good to share, to support each other, and to connect. So please send your joys and sorrows, put them right into the chat. If you want them to be not read and held in my heart, you can put the word private on there. And please put your name at the beginning so I know who it is. Before we get started, we have, as you are writing those in, let me mention a few in our world. First of all, this week is Bisexuality Week. Did you know that the B in LGBTQ is the largest group of that category? Many times our bisexual siblings can feel invisible in the LGBTQ community. And may we take this week to acknowledge the joys and the obstacles faced by the bisexual community. And may we stand hand in hand with our bisexual friends, family, community, and ourselves as we continue to advocate for policies that ensure acceptance and celebration of all. This weekend was Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the Jewish High Holy Days. Our wishes and thoughts are with all of our Jewish siblings in our congregation and in our community, especially as they are celebrating this most holy week online rather than partaking in the special rituals of this most sacred week together. And our world is still burning. We are sending so much love to those recovering from Hurricane Sally in Alabama and Florida, those preparing for Hurricane Beta in Texas. Do you all know that we've had so many hurricanes this year that they've had to go through the alphabet and they've moved on to Greek letters? It's only the second time that that's happened, earliest it's ever happened. There was an earthquake in California on Friday, and the fires, all the fires. We are sending so much special love to Camp de Benneville Pines, where the fire is wrapped around the camp on 3 sides. I want you to send energy to the firefighters who are in camp right this moment, trying to keep the camp from burning down. So much, too much. It's all too much. And then, of course, the loss of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a champion for women's rights, along with everything that she did. We turn to the joys and sorrows of our community. And we do have a from Nora, who says, "This is my very first service. We are new to Phoenix, and wow, this is so wonderful. Thank you. We hope that you will keep coming back, Nora. We are glad to have you with us." A joy that Francis and Lynn got remarried. That was so joyful last Sunday. And Susan Morris says, "Thanks to those of you who aimed some light toward my brother Andrew after his bike accident. He is healing and I love you all. So Joseph Benesh says, it's a joy to commune with nature last week in Zion, Utah, and Bryce Canyon, Utah. Wow, that's very cool. Carolyn Lother says, I mourn the passage of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She has changed our country for the better, and we thank her for it. From Marshall Valentine, has a joy that family, neighbors, and the general community are beginning to accept me exactly as I am, and accept when I voice discomfort with bias or racism. My joy is that my UU community presence and light is shining bright for all to see. Thank you all. You helped me more than you know. And right back at you, Marshall. And Sandy Thompson tells us that Phil Crowley just got out of the hospital. He was walking his dog and he fell and broke his leg. So please send your love to Ruth and Phil Crowley. And a joy, Amy Miskell says, our friends Rick and Lynn in Eugene, Oregon live very close to the fires there, and it did finally rain on Friday. And Sherry Stafford says, very happy to have just arrived home after 6 weeks on a camping trip. So glad to be here with all of you. Welcome back, Sherry. We're glad you're here. And here's a big one. Katie Resendez says, joy, I turned 40 and Nigel is back home after a summer with his grandma in Santa Fe. Two big joys. Happy birthday, Katie. We are so glad to celebrate your 40th with you. With Justice Ginsburg on our minds and our hearts, I share with you the words of Byron Tyler Coles. I invite you to take a deep breath as we listen to this. Settle in, lower your shoulders, feel the stress go out of your hands. Try to empty out the angst from your body. Let those feelings of grief wash over you. The sorrow, the pain, the frustration, the anger, the despair, the uncertainty. Cry out in lamentation with thunderous roars or echoing silence. It has always been needed and necessary after all. Light your candles, utter your incantations, pour out your libations. And when it comes time to pause, if possible, lay your head down on a soft pillow and take flight into the dream realm. There, the elder ancestors will meet you with healing balms and strategies for the next move. Rest well. Slow down at least and prepare your heart, dear one. The dawning of a new day is at hand. Judgment, as those with lesser faith may say, and we all must be ready for the inbreaking. Breathe. Breathe. Breathe and know that the magic and star stuff that composes your very being has purpose. And that purpose is needed and necessary. Come and let us make ready, for the dawning is at hand.
Wow, that was beautiful. So when I was invited to share this, well, let me say first, this being my first reflection, first know that you are loved, and know that if you're watching this, that hopefully you know that you're surrounded, even virtually, by people who care, by people who are trying to learn and unlearn, and people who are loved. Secondly, I like to qualify as often as I can that I know that everything I think, I say, and I do is through the lens of a white man with all of the inherent privileges that come with that. So when I was starting thinking about this reflection, about voting, the theme of today, I came back to an idea that I've had for a while because I work in advocacy personally in my day job. And I have thought for a while that advocacy shares some similarities in our society with depression. And for the record, I don't suffer from any clinical depression, but my mother did, and I've had many friends who have suffered from that and have shared their journeys with me. So I say this in honor of them. And before I kind of put the analogy together, I want to say it's worth noting that depression in our society has increased threefold in our during this pandemic, which has never happened in the recorded history of humankind, not even during World War II. But what little I know about depression personally is that it is different for each and every single person that it affects. It is truly, truly different for each and every single person. So some of the traits that I think it shares with advocacy and kind of getting out the vote is that, one, it's hard to vote not knowing the outcomes of tomorrow or how you'll feel tomorrow. And of course, we know that even in the days when we do have good days, when we do get out and vote and put our voice down on paper, that it sometimes feels like nothing has changed. And especially in the space of what's technically a republic, which is our country, in the way we vote for our president. And then another one that I think it shares is that the politics and the social constructs of our country, our state, and our city affect each of us differently. I am less affected than other people who don't look like me. And so we're all impacted differently. So again, so many variables, so many huge variables. But also, I think, like depression, if we can share stories of success, we never know who that's going to help. And I kind of think like the I voted sticker that a lot of us get is kind of the I took a shower this week. I got out of bed today. And I think, similarly, if someone sees that sticker, or knows that you got out of bed today or showered this week, that maybe that it can encourage them to do the same. So I think those little wins happen more often than we realize. And then lastly, that maybe voting kind of becomes that happy place of solidarity and hopefully it reminds those in power and that we are here, that we matter, and that we will never ever stop voting, no matter how hard they try to make it, and we will never ever stop loving each other. So that's my thoughts on that. Now we share the words of our two-person and civic engagement team, Sandy Weir and Susan Morris. Thank you.
I have my self-interest, so I vote. I'll fill in dozens of ovals with yes or no to persons and measures. Maybe my choices will give me a government that works for me. I listen to voters and also to those who cannot vote, such as teens calling for a Green New Deal, former prisoners calling for reentry that works, and certain parents calling for resources for their kids' schooling.
Goals like these caused me to see how my self-interest would be served if the goals were reached. The gifts of those who cannot vote inform my vote. And sometimes an election is a step toward more persons being able to vote. We'll see.
When Reverend Christine asked me to make a short video about why I vote, my first thought was, it's kind of a no-brainer. As helpless as I feel about the state of our country, why would I not take this one simple action that's my right and by now an ingrained habit? So why do people choose not to vote? Could they be feeling that nothing is under their power to control? If that's the case, then doing what we can to light little individual sparks of hope could spur them to take this one simple action, giving all our votes together the power to initiate positive change.
The Dow Jones was climbing out of sight, corporations making money. Not so sure that I was doing well, but who was gonna believe me? They said, hey friend, our country's great, and you got no reason for complaining. Things ain't never been so good, so quit your dad burn blaming. Yeah, pick away on the old banjo and keep that guitar strumming. Put more water in the soup, there's better times a-coming. Then the virus come and the folks got sick and the president went AWOL. He said, you know it ain't my fault, blame it on Obama. Or China, or the media, or somebody, they did it. Yeah, the stores all closed and the jobs went away and the folks just getting sicker. And we're still hunting all around for equipment and a leader. But pick away on the old banjo and keep that guitar strumming. Put more water in the soup, there's better times a-coming. Yeah, and mighty rough times we're going through, there don't seem no end in sight. But keep that distance 6 feet clear and tie that mask on tight. Call your friends and wish them well and do your part for others. And when November rolls around, we might just choose another. So keep on working harder, we'll put it all together. Yeah, pick away on the old banjo and keep that guitar strumming. Put more water in the soup, there's better times a-coming. Yeah, pick away on the old banjo and keep that guitar strumming. Yeah, put more water in the soup, there'll be better times a-coming.
Thank you, Dave and Sandy and Susan. And just an operational note, I'm noticing it more today. So folks are saying thank you to people or comments. So if you say it only to the panelists, you're only talking to the folks who are behind the scenes. A whole bunch of those people are out there watching. So click on all panelists and attendees if you want everyone to see it. So, like many of you, Friday night was rough. As soon as I heard that Justice Ginsburg had died, I had a barrage of emotions. And they all happened really quickly, like just right on top of each other. But if I had to pull them apart, the first one was kind of like, seriously, 2020? Like, you've taken away so much. Now the notorious RBG, really? Then there was sadness for the woman who I didn't know personally, but I fell in love with her anyway. I watched the movie about her, from her eye descent collar to her push-ups, to how much cancer she willed herself to survive through. And we were already hoping that she could make it a little bit longer, but really this woman How much did she give us already? But then right on the top of that, I felt dread, true dread. And I was angry that I didn't get the time to mourn the human being before I had the dread about our system. And the thoughts of, what does this mean? And when I thought through what did it mean, I knew that the situation was quite dire. Now, I consider myself to be a reasonable person who doesn't get into crisis mode too easily, and I try not to resort to hyperbole too quickly. But this is the most important election of my lifetime. And lives are on the line. And we, as people of faith, those of us who are religiously liberal, we have an obligation, a moral obligation to act like our lives depend on this election, because they do. Now, first of all, I just want to be clear. Because of our nonprofit status, we are a religious institution. The congregation, nor I as its spokesperson, are supposed to support a specific candidate. But we are allowed to talk about issues that are important to us. And I'm going to be very clear. I am going to dance right up to that line. I know that it may upset people by me doing that. And right now, that is a risk that I am willing to take. There is too much riding on this. On the national scale, we have a president who is stoking daily fires of racism, using all of his words and tweets to invoke fear of Black people and protesters, and using his military power to attack his own citizens. He has locked up thousands of immigrants in inhumane conditions and wants to be celebrated for it. He consciously did not use his powers to prevent this country from losing 200,000 souls. As of yesterday, we hit 200,000. And he is still refusing to take responsibility for the welfare of this country's population. He denies climate change while we are watching our world burning. And make no mistake, he will be determined to placate his one-issue voters by appointing a Supreme Court justice who is willing to repeal Roe versus Wade and take away a woman's choice to make her own difficult decisions about her body. This is all before a re-election. I shudder at the thought of what he would do in a second term with no re-election consequences. But I also want to be clear that this is not just a national election that is important. We have a ton of local consequences as well. We have a special election Senate race where the winner will be installed as early as late November, which could be the vote that could make or break the appointing of a new Supreme Court justice. It's the only Senate seat in the country where the election could impact that. And we are looking at 3 to 4 people who could change it, and Arizona's senator could be one. In Phoenix, there is a very important vote for the Attorney General, the position that will decide on rules for our local police, whether they should be focusing on de-escalation techniques and whether they will be supporting community oversight. This position is very important for how we hold our police accountable for how they support our communities. And this congregation has been very involved in Proposition 208, the Invest in Ed proposition. Currently, Arizona is suffering from the worst classroom crisis in our history. We have the nation's highest teacher turnover, the most crowded classrooms, the second lowest teacher salaries, even after recent investments. We're 46th in per student spending. And so many teachers have quit that over 70,000 kids have no permanent teacher right now. And this problem has grown for 20 years. An entire generation of children have now paid the price. State lawmakers could have chosen to solve this crisis. They've had every chance to. They just haven't wanted to. And now some of these same people are trying to tell us that the solution on our November ballots is no good, that we can't afford to fund our public schools. It would be funny if it weren't so sad. We know that investing in public education means more kids graduating from college, higher per capita incomes, a stronger workforce, a healthy middle class, and a robust economy. Strong neighborhood schools are the key to the American dream. You can't afford and invest in schools, they say. The truth is that we can't afford not to. So despite what they say, the solution to our problem is not complicated. It's time to pull our state out of last place and finally fund our public schools. So please vote yes to Proposition 208 and invest in ed. And all of these things doesn't even include all the congressional races, the state races, the school board races, the tax acts. The vote is making a difference in your community. In Arizona, we have 2 more weeks for voter registration. I encourage you to talk to everyone you know. You never know who isn't registered to vote. But these are all the facts. You can learn all these. I'm actually assuming when I talk to many of us in the congregation that you all know this. You can learn them by reading the newspaper or by looking them up. I want to talk about the election as a moral obligation as religious liberals. As a Unitarian Universalist, we are guided by 7 principles, hopefully 8 soon, but that's another sermon. Our 5th principle says that we promote and affirm the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. We are the fighters for all people, using your own conscience and promoting democracy. And that's what the UU the Vote initiative has been about. This is an initiative started by our Unitarian Universalist Association president and former minister here at UUCP, Reverend Susan Frederick Gray. It's an initiative that says that this is no time to sit it out or play it safe. It is an opportunity to put our values in action. 2 years ago, I was part of one of the very first initiatives of UU the Vote. I was in Florida at the time, and it was one of the 4 states in the US that removed forever the right to vote for anyone convicted of a felony. You could have served your time, you could have paid your fees, you could have done all the things right that the system said to do, and you could never again vote in your life. The rule, by its nature and by the carceral program itself, disenfranchised 1.4 million people in Florida, many of them people of color. It was one of the tools that was put in place right after the Civil War to keep Blacks from voting. And it kept going until 2 years ago. What a convenient way to suppress the vote. Amendment 4, the Voting Restoration Act, was something that the Unitarian Universalist Association invested in. I got to go to an organizing weekend, hear people's stories, and work with organizers. Now, I pride myself on being a progressive, but it is the first time in my life that I actually did phone calling for an election. But it was so easy that I actually organized phone calling parties. You know me, I'll turn anything into a party. And I found out how easy it was to do text reminders on Election Day. And Amendment 4 passed with 66% of the vote. It was so empowering to say that I had done what I could to make it happen. It's a different kind of celebration when you are a part of it. So I want to give you some specific opportunities to do something for this very important election. You can sit and wring your hands and worry and feel bad about the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or you can act. There are 6 things. 5 of them have resources attached. Those resources are in last week's Compass on Friday. They will be in Tuesday's Compass, and they will be listed here in the chat at the end of the sermon so you can find them easily. They cover a whole range of comfort abilities and time availabilities. I've tried to pick the ones with help from the civic engagement team that everyone can do at least one. Number 1, it's most important. Talk to your family, friends, and coworkers. The deadline to register to vote is October 4th. Ask your coworkers if they're registered. Ask your friends. Don't assume. I spoke to somebody just a few weeks ago who told me that his family never voted. He didn't think of it as something that one did. He just never signed up. And he didn't think he could make a difference. Well, that person sent me their voter registration last week. Find that person. 2, you can volunteer to be a poll worker. Arizona actually does 85% of its voting by mail, but there are still poll stations, and many of them have historically had older people working in them. That is just not safe this year. So there is a shortage of poll workers. So if this fits with your risk standards, please support our democracy by being a poll worker. 3, we have a lot of our congregants writing postcards to voters in many states, encouraging them to vote. It's actually really easy. Vote Forward is the organization. They tell you who to do, they give you ideas for it, and while you're sitting there watching TV or doing whatever, you can write a few postcards. Easy. 4, if you have money to give, there are lots of ways to give money, but I am going to give you one way that you can make a difference right now. Those disenfranchised voters in Florida that I told you about, they got the right to vote 2 years ago, but the courts have been sticklers to make sure that everyone has paid off every single fee before they can vote. And some of those people do not have that money. These are people who want to vote in a swing state, and a simple decision to pay off their fees can make that happen. They're only halfway to their goal of paying off the fines, but the deadline is September 24th. So think about that. 5, phone banking is easier than you think it is. There's a script and you're connected to only phones where people answer. And yes, I'm not gonna lie, the first couple are intimidating, but then you can get some really amazing conversations and connect to real human beings. There are almost daily phone banking opportunities at UU The Vote. And 6, if you are up for specific work in the Phoenix area, I don't know if any of you remember that map I showed you a few weeks ago of the Phoenix neighborhoods that have less than 50% voter turnout. Valley Interfaith Project is targeting a few of those neighborhoods and trying to improve those turnout numbers in our own community. This is a hyper-local effort in Phoenix, so there will be a link for that one as well. And there are so many more ways. These are just a few in case you can't find them on your own, but if you believe that this is an important election, please do something. One thing. I'm telling you that there's nothing better than the feeling that you were part of a change after Election Day. And as many of us know, there is nothing worse than the day after an election day when you wonder if you could have done something more to change the outcome. So we've talked about why it's important, and we've talked about specific things that you can do. But now I want to talk about our moral compass as Unitarian Universalists. And I want to talk about the angst and anxiety that I know so many of you are feeling right now. I hear it from you. I see the tiredness in your eyes. I see the worry. I want us to remember the first line of the covenant that we recite each week. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. Love. Our UUA social justice arm is called Side with Love. And I've thrown out there that I think the theme for this year should be Lead in Love, from the hymn that we're going to be closing with today. Love, my dear ones, is what more of this process needs more of. We are doing this because we are the ones who lead with love. Because we believe that every person has worth and dignity. Because we believe that how we show love in the world is to fight for the rights of the most marginalized. Because we are a religious organization, it is our moral duty. It is, yes, our civic duty as citizens, but as religious liberals, it is our moral duty. But sometimes we need that reminder. Sometimes it is way too easy to shift to fear. There is so much to be afraid of what kind of damage can happen if the administration gets 4 more years, of how many more people will die of COVID, of what will happen to our climate. These are legitimate fears. But dwelling in fear is not going to get anything done. Dwelling in action and remembering that we are trying to provide a counterpoint of love. Sometimes it is way too easy to shift to anger and hate. I've had a few of you ask how we find the worth and dignity of certain political figures that have done so much harm. And when people say that Unitarian Universalism is an easier faith, I remind them of that first principle, and that it is one of the most challenging spiritual work that we will ever do. We can do this work in love. We can do it without body shaming the people we are trying to get out of office. We can do it without demeaning of the elect and calling them stupid or writing them off. We can do it while still being in relationship with people and showing our love. We can say that we have our values and principles without screaming at our family and friends. I'm not saying it's easy, but I do encourage you to lead with love, not anger, not hate, not fear. Motivation, yes, but remember what you are for, not just what you are against. And finally, I need you all to know that I am praying for you in my UU way. I know that some of you are so worried and so anxious about this, and it is overflowing into so much of your life. It is just all too much. On top of the fear and isolation of the pandemic, at the same time that you're trying to work and teach your children, on top of the fires and the hurricanes, on top of your own personal challenges, and then the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It is all just too much. There are, ironically, 45 days. Just 45 more days. Take some action. Do one or two things. Then turn off the news. Do something to take care of yourself. Stay connected here at UUCP and know that you are not alone. We will get through this together. Know that whatever happens on election day, we will be gathering to process it the next day, no matter what. In this great turning, this democratic turning, we must believe that we can lead in love. We must believe that love wins. We must continue to fight for the issues that we know in our heart that are the loving ways to respond to our fellow human beings and to the earth all around us. Act. Be. Love.
Thank you, Christine. Amen. Whew. So, in this great turning, let's learn to lead in love. Those are lyrics from a song called We Shall Be Known by the duo Mamuse. Let's sing it together. The lyrics are in the chat. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. Let's see the whole thing again. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. Thanks, everyone.
In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. So before closing words, please come to coffee hour after the service. It's lots of fun. It's great to see people. I have heard so many of you who've said that they've gotten to know people that they never would have gotten to meet in service or regular coffee hour. Visitors, we hope you'll join us. We are a friendly bunch. There is also a coffee hour just for our kiddos and their families. And a reminder to please keep checking on each other. Our closing words are from Octavia Butler. The one irresistible force in the universe is change. Everything in the universe changes. Every living thing, every bit of matter, all the energy in the universe changes in some way. All that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. So, my beloveds, call, text, write, engage, make change. So might it be.